Yeah, here we are again.
Here we are.
Uh-huh. And as always, we're talking about discovering, unlocking your brain's superpowers.
Yep.
And training your brain to work for you, not against you.
Alrighty. What are we doing today? What are we talking about?
Well, it's another secret brain hack to change your state. And that would be gratitude.
Ooh, love it.
So we hear a lot of talk about gratitude and how important it is and how everybody should do it and all this. There's different ways to do it based on your brain type. And this particular brain training technique is only found in the top 6 of the author brain type. One brain type, one of the 16 brain types. It works for the others too, but to certain degrees, depending on how you do it. So with the author, there is a specific brain training technique that's the most common in the brain training lessons and videos and things that I've made. And it still works for the others, but it can be tweaked to the other brain types. Some people find it most effective to express gratitude to someone else in like a letter or a text or phone call. And let's just start with that one, because that's super powerful, pretty much for everyone. And yes, it does work on certain brain types better than others, but it will work for everybody because you're giving something. So if everybody in the world picked one person just once a week to write a note, text a note, email a note, or in person, tell them why they're grateful for them. Boom. One sentence. Once a week, if everybody in the world did that, this world would be different
100%.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there'd be a lot less, in my opinion, there'd be a lot less depression and anxiety, because fear and gratefulness cannot live in the same body oftentimes. And I personally have experienced a lot with this subject with gratitude, because I realized that I was kind of like in a negative state a lot of the times, and I was always thinking negatively, or it would spiral like we've talked about in the earlier episodes, and just that mental thing that's going down. And I actually started a grateful journal. And not everybody, can dedicate like some time every single day to something, or it's just really hard for people to do that. So I love that you like gave that option of a once per week thing and just telling someone else that you're grateful for them. But what I would do is I would write it down for myself, because you're talking about it's for other people and also for yourself, because when you express gratitude towards somebody, it actually makes you feel better. It often lightens your mood and makes you feel so much better about just who you are as a human being, but also you feel good for making that person feel good. And then they feel good. It's just such a good thing all around. But I wrote in my grateful journal for a year, every single day, and I still have like all my journal entries, and it was amazing how much better my relationships were. It was amazing how much better my mood was. And even though I would have a bad day, at the end of the day when I would write in that grateful journal, it just completely turned my mood around. And you can even start the day out that way, but just doing that can make not just an impact in your life, but then it also makes an impact in other people's lives as well. So being grateful is huge, and people don't realize how powerful of a tool it is. So really glad that we're talking about this today, honestly.
Yeah, and so the second technique or way to do this is what you just described, is a gratitude journal, because there's something physical and mechanical about writing it down.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially on real paper with a real pen or pencil. That's way better than just typing it into your gratitude app, which is also good.
That's good.
But it's different.
It's the action of doing something, because when you're typing, I don't know what it is about writing, but maybe it's the physicality of writing and how it takes a little bit more effort, and it's more of you putting your emotion or emotion into the words that you're writing. I really don't know the difference too much, but I just know that sometimes phones can take away the emotion out of something. And so that I do agree with that pen and paper. I'm a big pen and paper person personally. But I think it's huge to have a grateful journal.
And a lot of it is just kind of visceral, because when we're using our fingers and our muscles to write out each letter instead of tap, 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 which has, how long have you been doing that? I mean, it's been since phones came out, 20 years ago to that extent. I mean, smartphones 10 years ago, right? And so if you look at the whole timeline of human history, whether you're creationist or evolutionist, it's a really long time. And you put phone tapping with your thumbs on that timeline, it doesn't even show up. It's such a short time in human history.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No.
That we're just not adapted to it with our brains. We are, though, for mechanical writing. And so that's why when we talked about the toddler, images and emotions, and we spend more time thinking about it as we're doing it, because our brain is connected to our fingers, and we're going to have a better ability to store it and to feel it in our brain, especially our subconscious. The toddler is going to hear it more clearly. If we stop and do the writing with our fingers, as opposed to just pounding through this or talking with Siri.
Yeah. The other thing too is, like, I just thought, and it kind of clicked in my mind when you said that, is that mechanical of writing it down, but also when you're typing, it's very visual, because you're looking at it and you're seeing the letter and you go, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Instead of you're creating the letters. So I just, like, it clicked in my mind when you said that, because it's just so, like, that's maybe why I personally love writing, because I feel like it actually gets my emotions out on the page.
Yep.
Like, I love doing brain dumps. I know you love doing brain dumps, where you're just thinking about something. You're thinking, and it's all up here. And when you physically write it down on paper, it just totally takes it out of your brain. So it's just great. But
it's true.
Yeah.
And journaling for some brain types is a horrible idea.
Really?
Yeah. If it's in your brain type to do journaling, then it's going to be really effective, or one of your brain types. If it's not, it still works.
Oh, yeah.
But it can just drive you crazy. And even some people that have journaling in their top 6 brain types, because of how they were raised. I mean, brain wiring isn't 100% everything. That's nature, right? But nurture also affects how you feel about things. And nurture also affects brain wiring. And you can change your brain wiring, because the brain is very plastic, is what they call it. That's the term for changeable, malleable. So that's why these brain type tests, people say, oh my gosh, it's so spooky. But there's always one or two things they're like, yeah, that's totally not me. Well, that's because that's just how you're raised. But people have come to me, even my own daughter, when I first was developing this, and she was one of the initial testers, her brain type came back and she goes, oh my gosh, this is spooky. This is totally me. But it's probably just like, the people that just say general things, and it could apply to anybody, because she's also a skeptic like I am. And so I sent her the opposite brain type of what she is. And she's like, oh gosh, yeah, this is so opposite of me. This is not me at all. And I didn't tell her it was the opposite. I said, what do you think about this one? And I go, well, that's the opposite of yours. And she goes, oh, okay. I guess it's not just saying general things to apply to everybody. But gratitude is actually pretty easy to do if you're in the right state. And you'll know you're in a really crummy state when you can't think of one thing to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah.
It happens with me too.
Like, what am I great? And you start to say, like, yeah.
Everything sucks.
Everything sucks. Or you start to say really general things like food, roof over my head. I don't know.
But that's how you get out of it.
You try.
You just nailed it.
You just find general things. It's like, think about, like you were saying, or I was saying, whatever. General things like, okay, I'm in a house right now.
Yeah.
I could not be in a house. It's raining outside, and I could be out in the rain, but I'm not. I'm in a warm home. I have a blanket right there, and you just find these things that are like not super exciting to you normally, And just if you're grateful for those, like you said, it breaks that state of not gratitude, and then you just kind of domino effect. Then you start finding little things to be grateful for. But it's really hard when you're having a poopy day. So it's not
It's
very
so hard.
It's not very fun to
I
try
know.
to be grateful when you're like, "Mm."
But then you can sit back and you can kind of laugh at yourself because, oh, okay, I can't think of anything. Well, I'm stuck. Well, let's just get out of that. And then you start, how you
Yeah.
just said, you just open your eyes and the first thing that you see, you're
Yeah.
thankful for. Because it's
Yeah.
especially easy in this country.
Yeah.
Because did you know that if you have running water,
Uh-huh.
a toilet,
Oh, yeah.
a refrigerator, and $300 in the bank,
Yeah.
you are wealthier than 85% of the world's population. Those 4 things.
Okay, say it again. One more time.
So
minute.
$300 in the bank,
$300 in bank,
running water,
running water,
a toilet,
toilet,
and a refrigerator.
and a refrigerator. Ridiculous. So true though, because like, do you know Gary Vee,
Yeah.
right? So Gary Vee actually talks about that with the running water thing, and he talks about how many people in the world have to walk or try to find just clean water, and
Yeah.
we just walk over to our fridge or walk over to our Brita, and it's just so readily there for you. So that's something to be very general is, oh, thank goodness I have clean water.
Yeah.
Because it's how you survive. You can't live without water.
We're extra
So-
spoiled here in this
so
area.
spoiled, yeah.
Because our water is 28 parts per million of total dissolved solids, which is pretty clean. That's one of the cleanest
here
in the country.
in the state, yeah.
But there's still too much, fluorine and chlorine and stuff for my taste. So that's why we have that system back there. We have 2 of these water filters here in the xgym, reverse osmosis, and it's got a stainless steel holding tank, so there's no BPAs while the water's sitting in there.
Yeah.
And while it's sitting in there, it's being shot with ozone, activated oxygen, to sterilize it. It's like, how spoiled is that?
I'm spoiled from just working here because I go home and I have water from like my Brita because we have, we don't have a fridge with like water in it. We live in an apartment, and I'll drink the water there. I'm like, me.
I know.
Because
right?
the
But
water
it's not
here
good enough.
Yeah, it's not good enough. Oh, the first world problems that we
I
have
know.
sometimes. But it's just so funny because I've just gotten so used to this water, and it's so incredible. But yeah, it's just something to be so grateful for, and it is something very general. So food, being able to even go to the grocery store and just like buy something, like most people have to like literally hunt for their food, or they have to like, fish or like whatever. And you get to just go to the grocery store and buy your food.
Yep.
It's just all there for you. You don't have to kill the chicken or nothing. Just in the store. Right there. It doesn't even look like a chicken anymore. So what is that? Is that a blob? Oh, it's chicken. Yeah.
And what we just did is we went through the gratitude exercise. Don't you feel better right now?
I do. I feel like smiley. And
Yeah. Yeah. And how abundant our life is.
Yeah, you have to like kind of make fun of yourself a little bit because you have to go, okay, come on. Like there are plenty of things to be grateful for and be happy about. And when you do that too, what ends up happening, because I'm feeling it right now, is your problems start shrinking
Yep.
and getting smaller and smaller because so many other people have way more problems than we do. Not to say not to downsize or devalue people's problems, because I understand stress, I understand problems, and we all have a ton of them. But it's amazing how gratitude can just really start to make those stressful feelings kind of dissipate.
So way back in the day when I was training clients out of their homes, one of my clients, they're all just really rich, but one of them was ultra rich.
Ultra
Rich. She had 2
rich.
dishwashers. And
2
she just
dishwashers?
entertained a lot.
One for upstairs, one for down.
No, they're just right next to each other in the kitchen.
I need 2. I'm going to be honest. We go through dishes way too fast. I'm like, it's full again. I literally need 2 dishwashers. Anyways, continue. I'm being very silly.
So she had a house cleaner, she had a nanny to watch her kids, and she
sheesh.
really just didn't have to do anything.
No.
And so
Except for work out with you, which is torture.
And just be really stressed out all day.
Yeah. Oh,
And so I showed up and I go, and she's like, oh. And I go, oh, what's going on? She goes, I'm so stressed. I go, whoa, what happened? She goes, well, there's a bunch of dishes in the sink. And I just don't know if I should if I should rinse them and put them in the dishwasher before the cleaning lady gets here, if I should just leave them there for the cleaning lady. And then I paused because I thought, well, this story's going to keep going. And she stopped. That was it.
Oh, well, the dishes.
Yeah, I know. That
was it.
Yeah. And my brain's like, wow, you're stressed about that? And so then I asked her, and my next question was, because I was also fascinated, I go, you have 2 dishwashers? She goes, yeah. We entertain a lot and stuff. And I go, wow, that's amazing that you have 2 dishwashers. That's really cool. And then she stops, and she thinks I can see the wheels turning. And she goes, yeah, I guess that is. And then her whole mood changed because now I wasn't trying to switch her to gratitude.
It just happened.
I was just fascinated she had
you
2 dishwashers.
I don't have 2 dishwashers. That's really nice. But it's just so interesting. It's like, I can totally relate with that where I get stressed out about smaller things. And I think we all handle stress in different ways. But I just do think that for most people, even if you're not journaling or you're doing gratitude, either saying it out loud, writing it down, there's so many ways you can express gratitude. And I think it works for everyone, especially if you practice it and you just continue, even if it doesn't feel like it's working right away.
Bingo.
With time, it will work if you're consistent about it. Just like we were talking about with affirmations, how it can feel really silly, like saying affirmations in the mirror or just saying them at all. And then once you just keep doing it, it just starts becoming a habit and it just feels so good. It makes your mood completely turn around.
I had a pastor. I went to a church for quite a while, and the pastor was bipolar. So he struggled. And sometimes in the morning, he's in a depressive state, and he wakes up and he just sits up and everything just sucks.
Yeah, of course.
And so he just sits there.
There's the low lows, yeah.
And he can't think of one thing to be grateful for. This is a pastor, okay? Can't think of one thing. And so what he does, he takes it even one step smaller. So he just sat there on the bed and he just said, thank you. He just forced the words out, those 2 words. Then he said it again, thank you. Thank you. You maybe even sarcastic, maybe even angry voice.
I don't know why that was so funny when you did that.
Yeah.
Like a growl.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what if you growl it? The point is, after a certain number of times, something popped into his mind that he actually was grateful for. Because what he was doing is he was speaking to his toddler, his subconscious brain. The toddler's in a bad mood too. Toddlers may be the reason you're in a bad mood. So then when the conscious brain, the PFC, is speaking words out loud, the subconscious brain, the toddler hears it. And then pretty soon, the toddler, just like any 3-year-old, after a few times of hearing something, they're going to start to think, oh, the parent is acting differently than I'm feeling. And toddlers get their cues from the parent. And so, what's the parent talking about? Well, let me think of something. It must be some. And then, boom, the toddler thinks of something to be grateful for, and that's when we feel the thought pop into our mind. It's because the subconscious released it. Now we can see something and be grateful for it.
Yeah.
And our situation of being in this country or whatever it is. It can be anything. So it's just starting small. Just setting that bar so low you can roll over it. And then once you get on the other side, now you can start to stand up and break that pattern and get into the right state. One of the most common searches on the interwebs is, what's God's will for me? AKA, what's the purpose of life?
Yeah,
if they're not going to use God in there.
Yeah.
Well, the Apostle Paul gives us an answer right in the New Testament. He says, be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus.
So beautiful.
Boom. Simple. God wants us to be joyful. He wants us to talk to him constantly. And he wants us to give thanks, have gratitude, because he knows how good it is for us.
Which the gratefulness can create that, or the gratefulness can create the joyfulness that he was talking about. So they kind of go hand in hand.
They go reverse. So Paul lists them this way, but they go reverse. If we start with this, then when I'm doing my gratitude exercise, I will look at something and I believe everything comes from God. So I will see something, I'll be grateful for it, and I'll thank him. Boom, I've just moved to this prayer without ceasing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not possible. No human can always be praying all day long.
No.
But that's the goal, right? That's what we should strive for.
Yeah.
And then, boom, joyful.
Yeah, and that's obviously like our faith, right? Like that's our faith is we believe in God. And the biggest thing is like when someone else, they necessarily don't believe. I think a lot of times when people don't believe in something bigger than themselves, and they oftentimes can become really sad because their problems seem a lot bigger. So even if you don't believe in God, just try to find something that you believe in or have faith in that's bigger than yourself, so that you can have that gratitude and give that thanks to whatever it is that you feel, or whatever that because obviously that's ours, but what I'm trying to say is just you want to make sure that you're giving thanks and saying thank you out loud, no matter what you believe. Yeah.
Yep.
Out loud. And so the other thing that kind of stuck in my head when you were saying the thing about your toddler and your PFC and like those different things is, I just want to ask people, like, how often throughout the day do you listen to yourself instead of talk to yourself? Because we have so many thoughts throughout the day, and I can't remember the exact number, but I know it's just like a ridiculous amount of thoughts per day. And how often, like we were talking about spiraling, do you let these thoughts just come in, and they just come from nowhere? They just come out of nowhere, and you're just like, what the heck? Why am I thinking this way? And what you can do by talking to yourself or expressing gratitude out loud, or even saying the thank you that we were talking about, is it brings it back to your control.
Yep.
You've all of a sudden just gained the control back from the spiral. Because that's what we were talking about, is your toddler is just taking control and going like this.
Yep.
Going down and going down and going down. And then you just say, thank you. All of a sudden it kind of makes you rise up a little more, and then you have full gain and full control again. And it is just such a good feeling. But talking to yourself and saying things out loud is extremely valuable, because it just makes you realize, kind of wake up and realize that you need to kind of snap out of it.
Yep.
So just thought that was really interesting.
It is. And even for my atheist friends, I will explain that gratitude, whether you believe in anything or not, higher power or whatever, gratitude and moods and emotions affect our chemistry, starting with our water, the structure of the water. We're 75% water as humans, right? Well, muscles is 75%. The human, depending on, their body composition depends on how much water they are. But, most people are 60% water. And talking about their whole body or more. And there's this Dr. Masaru Emoto is a scientist that did some studies on water, and he was the first one to do this. So what he did was he put glasses of water, 3 glasses of water, and he projected emotion, 3 different emotions on those glasses of water.
You're kidding. I know what he's about to say, so I'm just like, what?
Hate and anger was one of them, and love was another one, and I'd have to look it up for the third. But so
Fear, maybe.
Just talking about, that could have been, it sounds familiar. So love and the hate and anger
and fear probably
looked completely different under a microscope. So I don't know how he came up with this, but he did the emotion projection first, then he flash froze the water, and then looked at it under an electron microscope. And the picture, that's what love looked like. Beautiful. Oh, here's one that he did. You make me sick. Like contempt.
Evil.
And here's, and here's I love you.
One's trippy.
Look at where do you see that?
The evil
Oh, evil?
one?
Oh, that is
That's
trippy.
We're going to post that up here.
That's like a hole.
To the right or to the left
Oh my
here.
gosh.
Look at that. It's a black hole.
Yeah.
Polluted water before prayer.
And then look at polluted water after prayer.
I'm sorry, but you can't.
Doesn't
You
that blow
can't
you
fake
away?
this stuff.
These are actual photos.
Eternal. The
And
eternal
so
one is like.
he came out with this and he publicized it and he showed everybody what was going on. And other scientists are like, no way. That's not how physics work. We know physics.
Right.
And so a whole bunch of scientists set out to disprove him. He gave them how he did it. They repeated his exact steps and they got the exact same result.
That's wild.
Time after time after time.
See, like the only one that I know of is the one where they talk to the plant. And they have one plant that they talk to with hatred and like, I hate you, you're terrible, you're the worst, blah, blah, blah. And they talk to the other plant and it's like, I love you, you're amazing, I'm grateful for you, like all these different like kind words. One plant, the one that was spoken terrible words to, starts dying. And the other plant is thriving and growing. And it's just so crazy because they're both given the same amount of water, same amount of sunlight. And it just tells you that that energy that's presented when you speak is, it means something. And it really does affect other things. So it's just so interesting.
It affects.
That's wild, though.
Plants are mostly water, so are we. And look at thank you.
You got to put that.
Look what gratitude does.
Yeah. I like the truth one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too.
Truth. Yep. Thank you, truth, eternal wisdom, peace. I love you. I love you is beautiful too. So thank you. And I love you. Just telling yourself that you love yourself. It might, like we talked about before, it just feels very silly. But it's just so powerful.
The toddler doesn't think so.
It's just a toddler.
Yeah.
So you got to teach it the right things to do and the right things to say, and saying I love you and thank you and all those kind words are something that every toddler wants to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we know why the gratitude, and we know how because it's easy, and there's more specific instruction on the brain type test. And then, of course, to take the brain type test and to find out your secret superpowers, it's braintype.me. Then you can find out for yourself what it is. Get it all boiled down real quick.
Yeah, very exciting. It was a really good one today. I love it. And I think probably because gratitude for me has changed my life.
Yeah.
And so I know what it can do for other people.
Same.
So, yeah.
Right on. Thanks. Boom.
Goes a dynamite.
And that's all I have to say about that.